GM, welcome to what's going to be another great episode of DevNTell. So if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every week where we welcome founders, hackers, and anyone in between to come on the show and showcase what they've built. And today, I'm ecstatic to welcome DD Legend and API3 DevRel Billyjitsu to the show. So if you didn't know, API3 is Oracle infrastructure providing price feeds for your smart contracts with Oracle Extractable Value, OEV, built in. So if you stick around for today's episode, you'll see Billy give us an overview of oracles and tell us how API3 changed the game. All right, let's get into it. GM, welcome to the show, Billy. Long time coming, man. What's up?
I'm a baby Moyo today.
Indeed, yeah.
Photo.
I love it. We love to nerd out on the show. And,
yeah. I'm actually a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Like when I didn't read the books at first, and then when I saw the first movie, The Fellowship, I was like hooked. I was like, what is this? And then it took a long time for the movies to come out, so I ended up reading the books beforehand. And then obviously all the things that were missed in the movie that I read in the books. I actually like that I saw the movie first, because then I wouldn't be mad. Oh, I read the book. It wasn't as good as the movie, but it was really good, actually. So became a huge Lord of the Ring fans, and actually became I would say semi-pro player for Battle for Middle Earth on there. Like I got so into it that I actually got flown out to San Jose to compete on PC Gamers Magazine's tournament, and I won it. Fun fact.
Oh, wow. Shit, I didn't know that. Well, right on, man.
I'm an RTS player, so StarCraft and all that stuff. Yeah, I click a lot per second.
Yeah. Man of many skills. Skills. And we're going to be getting into that too.
Yeah, it's a crazy world, crypto, like how I got into it. I've been into it since 2017, for the money. Like anybody else, you're like, oh, this is a good opportunity. And I saw that, and then I lived through the 2018 crash, and kind of like, whatever. My couple $1,000 investments turned into like $90. So I was like, well, that was a good run. And so I just let it be. And I was there for the $80 ETH and say, hey, whatever. I didn't know all the drama. I wasn't on Twitter for that. I was like, oh, $80, I'll take it. And so bought some here and there. And I think it wasn't until 2020, 2021, during COVID, we're all stuck at home. I had run my own business for a long time. I did IT consultant. I was an engineer long time ago, computer engineer, did C programming, assembly. My focus was more on digital and hardware. So I did some kind of assembly code and stuff like that. And I haven't used that in almost 2 decades now. But I was like, oh man, I was waiting for this project to come out on Gnosis Chain. And it was a fork of Aave. And it just kept getting delayed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to fork Aave and build this thing myself without knowing anything. I haven't touched any code in years. And it was way harder than I thought it would be. So it became me watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos on just blockchain thing. And well, what's VS Code? What's an IDE? What's a console? What's all this? I kind of self-taught struggle through basically all of COVID. Literally all the free time I had at home when I wasn't working was just spent trying to figure out what code was. And imagine the frustration when you're looking at a DevRel tutorial that says, all right, here we go, we're going to do this. And then it stops 5 minutes in. I say, cool, stay tuned for our next episode. And it never happens, right? So I kept getting that over and over. How to deploy a token, right? And then I was like, all right, now what? Right? Once I deploy it, now what? What can I do with it? And I had watched every video available to me at the time. I didn't even know what to Google at sometimes. I didn't even know what question to ask to Google. So I was stuck. So I spent so much time just trying to guess and watch 2-hour videos that might give me 1 minute of knowledge 40 minutes in, but I didn't know that was there or the word to say it until I watched that whole video. So I wasted a lot of time. So it wasn't until I started watching more folks that we know today. We see Natter, we see Cyphernautics guy, Austin Griffin too for scaffolding team. Yeah. And Patrick Collins from Chainlink and all those. I'm like, okay, started getting a flow of where those are going and the in-depth of it. And I'm like, well, why don't we have more of these? Right. And that's when I discovered Developer DAO. And you know, I was like, oh cool, I can learn where to code. And I was really wrong with that, right? Because there was a lot of people that already knew how to code, and they were kind of working on projects, and everybody was ambitious, going through a lot of different places. And that's where I kind of learned my friendships and learned my frameworks. Like, what do you use? Oh, I use Next.js with Tailwind. Well, that's what I'm going to do now. I skipped the whole CSS. I skipped the whole, like, all this other stuff. It's like, what do you guys do? Okay, that's what I got to learn. Right. So that's what I ended up doing. But my passion was always Solidity. So it was always Solidity first. But just hanging around certain people and like looking at projects, mimicking projects, it became what it was. And it was through Developer DAO in a conversation when I was trying to build a project with random numbers that Sparks was on VC5. And he's like, hey, have you heard of API3? I was like, no, never heard of it. I'm trying to do something on Gnosis Chain. They don't have, you know, Chainlink doesn't have random numbers. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And then I discovered API3, and then I started using it, and then I used it in production. And then that project kind of like blew up a little bit. And then they're like, API3 is like, well, who's this? Who did this on Gnosis Chain? And the team reached out, and I demoed the project, and then I had a good relationship with them. And then, you know, they were working on some new projects. And that's when I was like, man, I should probably do this full time, because that's all I'm thinking about. And so the moment I signed up for a smart contract, they're like, well, we're looking for a DevRel. Do you want to do it? I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. Right. And then, well, here we are. I am now the DevRel for API3. So like some random YouTube videos to like building these random projects to like, here I am building my DevRel courses and tutorials based on my frustrations as someone that didn't know anything, to come in and be like, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you can build with it. And this is where you can go. Right. Versus, hey, here's this quick copy paste of somebody else's tutorial. And good luck, right? I don't need the views. I want the skills. So like, I've always been about like, let's learn some new stuff. And like Developer DAO has been a place where I've been able to meet like literally guys that I still talk to today, right? Like we hang out, just chat, you know, we've come up with different ideas together, and it's been a good like environment. And then when you go to these places, events and whatnot, it's so cool to meet people in real life and like have that. So like, if it wasn't for Developer DAO, in a sense, I'd still don't know where I'd be. I might be stuck on certain things, and having the ability, like, hey, I have this quick question on something I never want to do. Like, I hate front end. But there's guys that love front end. So I'm like, I asked them, hey, can you help me with this front end thing? Yeah, sure. You know, and like that. And then they get stuck on a smart contract. Hey, no problem. Someone gets stuck on DeFi. So like having that network has been super, super cool. But yeah, that's a little bit about my history. And like, I guess I was an engineer, but not really. I have no proper software development course other than Udemy and a bunch of YouTube videos, and then just kind of being among people that are super hardcore into it, and then building stuff for production. So that has kind of shaped where I am in the space. And then being like a major DeFi head is kind of where I focus at. And obviously API3 oracles are based on DeFi. So it's kind of like a match made in heaven. So I love it. But that's enough about me. I know it's like a 30-minute show. Let me get through this tutorial and like, well, what API3 is and all that. And then we have more questions and answers if anybody's around, comments or whatnot.
Sure thing. I guess one more dive into the life of Billy.
Yes.
That story is amazing, by the way, and it shows the power of self-learning and having a great community like Developer DAO to help you push you to the next level.
Yeah.
But in between all that learning, all that Solidity code, I know you do a bunch of other stuff outside of that. I know you do a lot of heavy lifting. I know you do mixed martial arts.
Yes.
I know you do DJing as well.
Yeah.
You got a set coming for the Hederathon after party on the 25th of February.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fit all that into such a busy schedule?
I'm always busy. I'm literally constantly busy. It's if I'm not busy, I'm slacking. Like literally, like if I'm not staying busy, then if I have enough time, I'll just be lazy. Right. So if I'm not constantly doing something or my mind's focused on something, then I just be like, oh, I got time for it later. And then I never do it. So like, I think my best time at like in college or university, when I had like 18 units, was the best I ever performed, because I never had enough time to be like, oh, I got time to do it later. I have to do it now. So that's kind of my same thing. It's like I'm coding session. I do a lot of like powerlifting stuff. So like bench, deadlift, squats, and military press. And then those are quite short, so I can work around that for my lunch. I don't do it when it's like crazy after 5 o'clock, so I can sneak that in, come back, refresh. My mind is clear from that problem I had. And then mixed martial arts is something I've done my whole life. Like since teenager, I've done like traditional taekwondo, hapkido, and then I got into kickboxing. And then like during college, I basically was so focused on engineering and whatnot that it became too busy for me to do anything else. And I tried to keep up with it and I got injured. And so then, basically got fat and then worked on my business. And then I looked at pictures like a decade later. I'm like, what the fuck? All right, let me get back into it. So I started doing kickboxing, and then some dude that kind of like looked like a turtle. He was like, kick the shit out of me. I'm like, what? And like, what is it? I do jujitsu. I'm like, what? Okay, I got to do this too now, because it was like he just whooped me so bad. And I'm like, no way. And so then I started getting into jiu-jitsu, and then I was at a great time because I like live in the LA area, where there was a lot of upcoming UFC fighters, and like basically SoCal is the mecca of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Basically everybody Brazilian came to SoCal. So like I was able to, work with a lot of these guys that we saw on the stage like a decade ago of like, man, that's crazy. And so started getting into MMA and doing a lot of fights and stuff. And it came to a point where I'm like, I'm doing all these things. I'm not really getting paid for it. My hands hurt because I got to do computer stuff and my fingers are hurting. So I was just fighting Saturday, and then Monday morning I have a black eye and like my fingers hurt. It's hard for me to type. So I was like, what am I doing? So I kind of just doubled down on like work, and I stopped for a bit, but now I'm back in. I love it. It's just something that I love to do. So yeah. And then DJs, I used to be a resident DJ for a club in my college days. So kind of like nerd Monday through Friday, even Saturday I had to like study engineering like 6 days a week, and then like Friday night and Saturday night I had a residency. So like at like 7 o'clock I'd be like, all right, peace guys, I got to go work, go do like Superman, basically nerd during the day, kind of DJ at night, and then come back. So a lot of vinyl stuff. Used to do like a lot of DJ competitions, like this, the stuff that's now it's like CDJ, and like it does a lot of stuff for you. So I'm kind of like pushing play and then just letting it go. And I guess I was supposed to dance in between or something, but before you had to like have vinyl and scratch and do stuff. Oh yeah, it's fun. I like doing fun things.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, most dangerous and interesting man in Web3. There we go. But yes, yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
But yes, without further ado, here's your screen.
Yes.
Tell us about API3.
API3. Basically, we do price feeds for you and your smart contract level. That's like the easiest way to do stuff, like price feeds. You need a price feed for a borrow lending product? Got you. You need price feeds for a limit order and a DEX? We got you, right? So we're basically pulling real world data price and then bringing it down to you, right? What does it mean straight from the source? We're a first party Oracle, right? Just to go through here, if you guys want to follow me, this is my Twitter. If you want any questions about API3 or any of the workshops that you've seen in the past, definitely follow me. Give me a question. I'm pretty accessible. I answer pretty reasonably, even on the weekends. Like I'm doing something. So let me know. If I don't get to you, I'll get to you within a couple days, worst case. But why choose API3 for your Oracle solution? Like I was saying, it's we do first party Oracle. So the way people approach certain solutions, there's more than one way to skin the cat, right? Chainlink, they do node solutions where they have people that handle it. We do first party, so the source you're getting it from. We don't do data providing. We do it straight from the source. So like CoinGecko, CoinPropagate. Looking at that price, they're pushing that price on chain through our Air node, and so we're aggregating that data on chain and then pulling it to you. So different ways to do it, right? So for the presentation breakdown, is basically we're going to understand how oracles work. Why do we even need them? What's a push versus pull oracle? What makes API3 stand out, right? After hearing this, like, why would I want to use API3? And that's pretty much our Oracle Extractable Value. And I misspelled that right here as I see it. And then the flow of a liquidation, right? So like I said before, the Oracle landscape, you have many things to choose from, right? You have Pith, Redstone, Chainlink, API3, Chronicle. Chronicle's even been on DevNTell. They're all reliable sources of information, right? So again, sometimes we are on a chain that other oracles are not, right? So like, let's say you forked this Aave code and you want to deploy on this new layer 2 and you designed it for Chainlink, right? And say, hey, we can't use it. Well, API3 is there. If you look at our market, we are literally on like 40 different chains. And we're support the DevRel super cool. So you can always ask them, hey, I'm having some trouble and let me know, right? So theoretically, they all give you the same products. What makes us stand out is our OEV solution, right? So the team at API3 were actually the writers of the whole theory of OEV. That was 2 years ago. And we've built that from the ground up in order for you to do that. So what OEV means is like Oracle Extractable Value. We've all heard of like MEV, where you reorder the transaction of a block to help you monetize something, right? Like if you were going to swap something and I saw you were going to swap it, well, let me swap first so you pay the higher price. And as soon as you pay the higher price, I put my transaction after and then sell it back out to you. So I've made money, right? Well, same thing can happen in Oracle too, right? When the Oracle updates, there is opportunity, right? Because we know there's liquidations, there's things that happen, right? So we have that built into our Oracle. So going into liquidations on lending protocols, that's really where it matters. Is the first thing that must happen in any liquidation event. If you remember February 2nd, February 3rd, the biggest liquidation event to ever happen in the whole Oracle's way, like billions of dollars wiped off the market. You could see the articles, this much liquidated, I think like 2 point something liquidated off the entire market, right? First thing that has to happen in this entire thing is the Oracle that it's using must update, right? Then the health factor changes, like your position. Like if you leverage something, your health factor changes. Oh, you're in a bad position. Searchers like me and other folks that watch the Searcher Workshop, they're watching, for opportunity. And then they see the opportunity and everybody's fighting for the space. So we're all like, hey, I want my transactions. Like if you look at Arbitrum or if you look at Optimism, you see people just spamming the same transactions, 30 transactions of the same thing. And whoever gets it first gets it first. And then the user's liquidated and then there's profit, right? So what if you can control when this Oracle updates? Then you can control this entire flow. And that's theoretically what OEV is, right? You are kind of, instead of bribing a block producer on mainnet, you are basically auctioning off the ability to update the Oracle itself and have that first priority. And then you can bolt that transaction with your liquidation. So whether there's a liquidation or not, it's business as normal. And if you want the higher priority, then it makes it just a little bit more efficient, right? Why do we even need oracles? Well, the space is pretty interesting to see. Like I don't know, how do we want to age it? Like, how old am I? Like, if you remember back in the day, cell phone carriers, Verizon and AT&T, you couldn't call each other, right? Like you had your Verizon people that you could call, and then you had your AT&T people you could like, and they just couldn't call each other. Like they were their own networks. There was no communication whatsoever. And I guess for someone a little bit newer, maybe there's like Xbox players and PlayStation players, they couldn't cross play either, right? There was just like their own network and they can only see what's happening. So ETH doesn't know what the price of ETH is in dollar values, right? It just knows, like, you do an NFT project, oh, it's 0.1 ETH. There's no dollar value to that, right? Until you, as a person, humanize that, right? Go to CoinGecko, oh, 1 ETH is worth 2,700, right? So the way we do it, oracles, and everybody has their own ways of doing it, is they bring that off-chain data and they put it on a smart contract level. So then we know if ETH is $2,700 and I deposit 1 ETH to this platform, I can borrow maybe up to $2,200 USDC on that position. And that's where the borrow lending markets come in. That's where the limit come in. So as an Oracle, we're bringing that off-chain data, or like a real world asset of price data, bringing that data on-chain, right? And so that's pretty much all what Oracle does. I know there's a movement for real world assets of bringing other things on chain, but price data is something that we can easily verify because we can have multiple sources. What's the price of it on Coinbase? What's the price of it on Uniswap? What's the price of it on Binance, right? And we gather all this information and we can all openly see that and agree, oh, this is the price of ETH. So as an Oracle, we just bring that for you in a simple process. So like I said, we had this front running problem, right? GMX on Arbitrum was probably one of the biggest ones where we had this front running kind of system where we realized there's an Oracle problem, right? So for those that don't know what GMX is, it's like this thing where you can leverage 50 times and bet on the position, like ETH is going to be worth $3,000 at this price, and I'm willing to 50 time leverage my position to do it, right? The problem that happened is, right, before the Oracle updates, it has to send a transaction on chain, right? And so when this transaction is on chain, you can actually read the mempool. So what was happening is all these bots were reading the mempool. Oh, it's going to update on the next block. This chain, this is going to be an update, right? So let me 50 time leverage because I know what the price is going to be. 50 times leverage that position. It's going to update on chain, and then I sell out, right? And so basically, they were just printing money. They were printing money all day long, and GMX was losing money because the Oracle was updating, was waiting for the block to come in. Bots were front running that because they knew what the price of the Oracle update was going to be 50 times. So it was like you could bet all day and you knew what the outcome was going to be. So everybody was just max leveraging. And so they were bleeding out money for like, I think 45 days or something. I got 40 days on there. So they were like losing tons of money until they had a solution for it. But we realized that people were, with that Oracle update, were taking advantage of those positions, right? So what the OEV network is basically a layer 2 chain that just handles bidding, right? And it's like, well, why do we have it on a chain where there's no need for a chain, and we're not launching an L2 or anything like that? But what we want to have is a public auction, right? Too many things go privatized, right? And we're like, oh, we're supposed to be open, we're supposed to be decentralized, blah blah blah. Here, you just bid on the OEV network, and it's public, so you can see every time, who bid what, who won the auction, right? And you can always verify it, and it's totally open and available to everybody to see. That's something that a lot of people don't appreciate until it matters, right? Like, I'm a proponent for, like, hey, just use Venmo because it's easier, or just use PayPal until it's easier, until they lock your account and you're like, F Venmo, F. And then you wish it was more open, right? Well, we're already open, so you can definitely use the OEV network. So as a searcher, you would bid on there. It's like, I would like to bid the price to update ETH USD on Metis, right? And if I win, I get the rights to update the Oracle on there, and then I perform the action, and then I do the liquidation, and then I win, right? And so basically our OEV reader is, reading from all these different sources, and then we're aggregating that data, getting the average price, and it's all open. You can verify everything, the entire scope of it whatsoever. So, like, that's something that we are very proud about and very prideful, because, we preach the open and basically decentralized way. The only thing that we have that would probably be the most critical part is this: a lot of these things are kind of controlled by a multi-sig. And that's something that we are trying to eliminate. So then once the API3 team disappears, everything just works as normal because it's all automated right now. We are one of the few teams that can say, since inception, knock on wood, we have never had a misreport, right? We are so focused on security that, when you have the ETHUSD and you have any feed out there, you see these crazy hacks or these crazy, like, fluctuations in price. Sometimes there's a misreport and that damages the thing. Like, if ETH is worth $100 somewhere, like, mass liquidations, right? So any misreport is very, like, detrimental. So since inception, and they've been around for like 4 or 5 years, I've never had a misreport. So, like, that's a cool, like, beret stamp, or like my Boy Scout badge to have on there. So very proud of that. Very proud of that. So what has OEV captured, right? So what is the point of it? Why would anybody want OEV? If you're a borrow lending dApp, and so your goal is on every L2 chain or every chain is you want people to use your product, right? So it is hard to get competition space with the amount of L2s out here. You don't know which chain you want to choose. You don't know why you want to align with this or where people would put their money. So there's got to be a way for you to generate income, right? And right now, the current meta is, borrow lending dApps. You borrow something, you only make you have people deposit stuff. You only really make money when people borrow off those assets, like a bank, right? They can take all the deposits, but they don't earn money unless you lend it out, and then they earn that interest. Same thing with borrow lending dApps. So when liquidations happen, you don't get any money, right? Because you as a dApp's like, oh, I have to pay out this reward in order for people to be incentivized to liquidate these positions. Otherwise, my platform will be unhealthy. So we're constantly paying out liquidation rewards when the market fluctuates, right? And so now we're losing people depositing because they're losing 5% to 10% of their value. And, these basically arbitrageurs and bots are kind of making money, but they're bribing these block providers. So really the block providers are making the money, right? So with OEV is whatever they're willing to bid or bribe, that value goes back to the dApp, right? So now instead of that money going to the block producers, it's now being rerouted back to the dApp. So they have basically a new source of income. So all you have to do is literally use our oracles. And then if something gets liquidated and someone does OEV on that oracle, whatever they were bidding on there, we get a little split and they get most of it back. So as I said before, February 2nd, 3rd, depending on what time zone you were, was basically the biggest liquidation stress test ever to happen. And through all the tests and all the theory, it all got proven true that it actually works, right? So on Compound Mantle, we have one feed with them. $2.6 million was liquidated off it. So they lost $2.6 million from liquidations, but we returned 150K back to them through the OEV. So through all the bribes and everything, got 150K back return. Yay Finance and Say, 370K liquidated, and then 4,200 was returned. Right? And then on Mantle again, Lendl that uses us, 190K liquidated, $16,000 return, right? So just to quote, like, Compound earns in a chain about $9 million through borrows a year. And then in February, they paid out $5.3 million in liquidation incentives. So basically, they've already paid out more than they were going to make for half a year in one day, right? But we were able to return that 150K to them, and all they had to do was use our oracles. That's it. Like, there's nothing special. You don't have to sign up for anything. Just use our oracles, and you don't have to rechange your code or factor. So it's like a super cool thing that a lot of people don't understand. And so, like, with that new value, they can do things to learn. And maybe they, buy back tokens. Maybe they fund public goods. Maybe they pay their devs better. Like, it's up to them to do whatever they want to do. So like, it's new ways to incentivize new users to deposit onto yours, because there's so much competition, right? There is no question that Aave is theoretically the number one winner right now of borrow lending platforms. So how do you compete with that, right? Like, if you're doing the same thing, what is going to be your edge, right? And for us, I think that edge would be OEV. Now that you can do recaptures, now you can offer different incentives, you can do different things for that. So again, that's kind of what our pitch is in general, but that's the concept of OEV, right? Like, before you got nothing, now you got something, right? So yeah, and it actually works, right? February 2nd, that, like, everything was theory until it happens, right? Everybody can say, hey, this is the best product. And we went through the biggest stress test in history on crypto, and it worked as expected. So that was super cool, super confirming, like, this whole thing that we were working on for like 2 years actually works. So yeah, you'll be hearing a lot of noise about campaign about that. Like, we work. So you're saying, hey, Billy, this is so cool. I want my borrow lending dApp to do this. This is all the code you need. 14 lines of code is all you need to get this to work. That's it. When I say, oh, I want to integrate, here you go. It's literally on the webpage. This is all you need. You don't have to do any special stuff. Literally, you go to the market, you grab which feed you want to read, and it'll read it for you. So without further ado, we're more than just a prize feed, but let's go ahead and actually look at this. Is DevNTell. We want to dev a little bit, right? So I've already gone ahead and deployed the contract. Did it just refresh? Am I like flipping out here? No, Remix has been tripping on me. And so let me check something here. I'm going to try to grab something. 1 second. Remix has been a thorn on my side as this morning. Let me see what my last deployment contract creation. Yes. Okay. Let me go ahead and grab this, and hopefully this works. I got to refresh the page. I'm just grabbing this last deployment. Narb knows my struggles. Watch me do it. So yeah, I have this price feeder. I've deployed it. I'm going to go ahead and just reconnect my Ravi wallet here, and hopefully it connects. But I just wanted to show you that this thing is actually working. There we go. And so I'm going to go ahead, and I deployed it on Gnosis chain already at address. Yes, there we go. So I've already had it here. So basically, any proxy feed that we do in the contract, it's just going to give us back our price. So if we go over to market.api3.org, I'm going to bring that in the page, and I deploy this to like a mainnet, because testnets were just not working on Remix. If you're listening, Remix, please help me. But let's go ahead and read the price feeder for ETHUSD, right? So you see the ETHUSD market here. You see this is the current price. You can see our exact resources, where we're getting that from. This is all provable. It has the Airnode address. You can verify the DNS. So if there's any discrepancy on any price, you can see exactly where this is coming from. And then we aggregate that data. We're not providing the data. We're aggregating that data and putting it into a nice package for you. But see, it's live on Gnosis Chain. I want to integrate that. This thing to skip OEV rewards and earn OEV rewards. If you just want to use a general price feed for a hackathon or anything, right here, you don't have to deal with the OEV rewards. If you want to earn one, you basically would look for contact the team. We'd give you a special proxy. So when we know for our accounting, if they liquidate with the OEV for your dApp, that you get the money on here. So we're just going to use the generic one here. And literally, here's the code here. And I know we're almost out of time, but let me go ahead and just read that data feed. So we see we have the data feed example, just our code. I'm going to intro the contract address, and we're going to read, and you'll see it's 18 decimals, 2,759 cents, and the timestamp of when that happened. If we go back, we'll go back again. 2750, right? So it's literally that easy. When then you have that number, you can do whatever you want a lending market, futures market, whatever that number can do for you. You want to randomize an NFT price, totally for you. If you want to do a totally different thing, let's go wrap BTC. Same thing. This is the price. Integrate. I'm going to grab that proxy address right here, pop it, change this for this. read that data feed. There we go. 97, 18 decimals, and the last time it was updated. Timestamp is very important because you want to make sure your price feed isn't stale, right? If you're using like USDC, it's $1 for the most part, but you want to make sure it's working. So you want to be able to like, oh, it's updated in 24 hours. Okay, it's not stale, it's working. That's the number one thing we want the timestamp for. We want to make sure things are updating on time. But yeah, really simple. This, 14 lines of code with some notes, literally read the data feed. That's it. That's so simple. So simple.
That's amazing, man. And yes, I watched Billy speedrun deploy this before the show. And I too shared the same struggle of trying to deploy the code on Remix. So Remix, please fix whatever is broken.
Yeah. Basically the wallet isn't connecting. Like if I'm trying to connect an injector provider, like it's not detecting the account for some reason. I'm not sure why, but yeah, that's a problem for when Remix comes in and does DevNTell, and then we just bombard them with questions.
That's right. Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah, I guess yeah, we're closing in on time. I guess a couple questions from my end is what's the most interesting project that you've come across using API3?
It's all the borrow lending dexes.
Yeah.
It's just how creative they get with the reward system. Like I like Lendl's idea of like if you own the tokens, you get a cut of all the liquidations. So by being a token holder and staking them, everybody has their niche, and so like being a token holder and there's liquidations, you're literally getting like a portion of that based on your portion of tokens. So that's pretty cool. So like you're part of the system, so you're incentivized more to push that system and go. Compound is always compound. You always have faith in them. Like they've been battle tested, right? So like, all these different ideas is cool. And then sometimes you have markets for different assets. I want to like do this one exotic token and no one does it, but this guys are willing to do it. So, there's some risk reward factors on that, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And then state like gaming has been pretty cool, right? Like I want my character to be $50, but you're charging ETH. Well, is it 0.1 ETH, 0.01 ETH, 0.0123 ETH, right? Like, so by having a price oracle, you can always consistently say, no matter what the price is at that time, it's always going to be $50. So those are pretty cool.
Beauty. And yeah, final question. How can people get started with API3 today? I know you showed the smart contract code is 14 lines long. If people have questions playing over the weekend, what's the best way to get in touch?
You can always follow me on Twitter. You can check out api3.org. That's the pretty much main one. There, if you check out the GitHub on the ecosystem, I have tons of examples, betting examples, prediction market examples. Like again, my DevRel experience is based off frustrations of not seeing examples. I learn from examples, so I make a lot of examples. So anything that can do a price feed, that's where it's at. And then just hit me up if you're lost or something. I've got tons of like tutorials with like layer 2 chains on how to become a searcher, understanding oracles, understanding OEV. Like those are all like 1 hour each. Deploying your own Aave fork, liquidating your own Aave fork. No, we are not available on Solana. We are EVM only on there. If you check the market.api3.org, you can see the list of chains that we have available on there. Like if there's a layer 2 on there, that's it. We're going to be on Monad, or we're going to be on Mega ETH. We're going to be any hype chain. We're there day one. That's it. We're on Unichain. We're everywhere, literally. Yeah.
Beauty. Love it. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much, Billy, for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time today to give us that wonderful background story of who Billy is, and yeah, the awesome overview of API3 as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. More from Developer Now. We're cooking in the back end, and hopefully I see you guys in Denver. For the Hedera party, I'll be flying in specifically on Tuesday to basically see everybody there that can be there. We still have yet to meet Narb. So one day,
yeah, I know. One day.
Yeah,
One day. Yeah, one day soon.
But pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Pleasure to have you. And for everybody that watched us live today, I dropped a link for you to claim your attendance badge on BitBadges for doing so. So definitely you want to go check that out. You got an hour from now to be able to claim. And yeah, with that, just want to wish everybody a very happy weekend, happy Friday, and we will catch you back here next week for another great episode of DevNTell. All right, all. Enjoy ETH number 2.
See you guys.